I'm Lawrence Bartley.
How I ended up getting into trafficking guns and drugs. The people you hang out with, you're guilty by association no matter what.
What the fuck have I got to be embarrassed about? I made it out. I made it through. I'm successful.
If somebody said to me, while you're incarcerated, you have everything that you need to survive, I would say bullshit.
For some people in prison, having a job isn't just for passing time. And it turns out a little bit of money can also help make sure you're successful once you get out. But like most things with incarcerated life, it's not that simple.
There is 0% chance that this is a positive story because they're working with the Marshall Project, okay? I'd be shocked if Vice did like a, look at how great it is that we're doing prison labor when they're working with the Marshall Project.
I mean, there's only one way you can describe the conditions inside of Alabama. You know, it's horrendous.
What's wrong with the Marshall Project? No, I'm saying if it was Vice on its own, maybe. Like, sometimes they have, like, wonky coverage every now and then. But I trust the Marshall Project. Absolutely. They're a very good organization. Look, guys. Remember what I always say. If you got an organization that deals with helping trans people, okay, it's probably going to be a decent organization, okay? Because nobody gives a shit about trans people. Nobody wants to defend trans people. But if you got an organization that deals with helping prisoners in America, it's most likely going to be rock solid. It's like Palestinians, prisoners, and trans people. The three main categories that, like, people openly talk about like they're not human, like they're subhuman. You know what I mean? In liberal circuits, too. And women? No, fuck no. There are plenty of fucking feminist organizations that are dog shit. What are you talking about? What? No. You're absolutely wrong, dude. Oh, homeless people too. But again, there's a lot of organizations that fucking steal on that area.
You're talking about the conditions where individuals are.
It's just like groups of people that are actively dehumanized is very long in the United States of America. But like even in liberal circles, people do not give a fuck about homeless people and people do not give a fuck about prisoners. That's like usually the two categories are like where people are just like straight up, nope, don't care. They should be fucking killed. I don't give a shit.
It's slave labor.
What you see right here is mice.
The conditions in Alabama state prisons are so bad that people behind bars have gone on strike 5 times in the last decade. In 2022, they refused to work in mess halls, factories, or on trash crews. The mortality rate in Alabama's prisons is 1.5 times the national average, and it grants parole to only 1 in 10 people. So danger is high, hope is low, and in terms of getting paid for work, in Alabama, that's not even a thing.
Maintenance workers who do all the repairs and whatnot, they don't get compensated for their work. The guys who work in the kitchen, people who do laundry, and just the upkeep of the prison, none of them get compensated for their work.
Not getting paid for actually doing what we do is somewhat like, just like you being put into a first situation.
On average, prisoners in the U.S. are paid 52 cents per hour. In at least 7 states, including Alabama, most people locked up aren't paid anything for the jobs they do to keep the prison running.
A recent ACLU estimate found that prisoners produce $2 billion a year worth of goods and $9 billion a year.
That's right, baby. Cha-ching. Slave labor. very, very profitable. You know what I mean?
Worth of labor, and they make pennies on the hour.
Paying people pretty much nothing to work jobs they have to do in a place they can't leave also happens to be the definition of slavery.
I mean, it's true. It's just very funny to have to describe this because, you know, Americans don't understand it. Like, Americans literally are like, what do you mean? Like, they don't have to take the jobs. It's like, bro, it's literally under coercive conditions. It's already close enough to be coercive conditions when you talk about the structural violence of poverty, forcing you to take that shit fucking job, or the fact that your employment is the only way you can get health insurance is also, again, coercive, and therefore basically makes this entire system fraudulent, okay? Wage slavery. But this is definitely like slavery in the old style sense.
And slavery in the US is older than the country itself. Even when the 13th Amendment passed in 1865, saying neither slavery nor involuntary servitude could exist anywhere, it specifically had one exception: as punishment for crimes. That exception was good news for southern states who were looking for ways to replace all the free labor they were no longer allowed to use. They began to search for ways to make it easier to put people behind bars where they could once again make them work for more or less free. It's a tradition that extends all the way to the current prison model.
Over the 21 years I was incarcerated, I had a laundry list of jobs that I was in. I got paid 45 cents an hour to do asbestos work. I got paid 16 cents an hour to mop floors. I got paid 20 cents an hour to do laundry. I did industrial work. I made license plates. I made furniture for schools. My name is Jason Calkins. I served 21 and a half years in New York State prisons, and I was in a whole handful of them.
My name is Kenya Edmonds. I served 3.5 years on Rikers Island in New York City. My official role in my housing area was a cleaner, and I worked about 35 hours a week and made about 14 cents an hour.
It's not just that people on the inside aren't paid fairly. It's that more often than not, they aren't paid enough to live.
If somebody said to me that while you're incarcerated, you have everything that you need to survive, I would say bullshit.
They provide you a small bar of soap. As far as shampoo and conditioner, that's not something that you're given. That's something that you have to purchase out of commissary. So if you're not able to uphold your appearance, the jury sees that, the judge sees that, and we are all human. We pass judgment by what we see first.
It's rare for workers in prison to receive their entire paycheck. In most places, money is deducted for restitution, for court fines and fees, for room and board. All that stuff is taken out of your paycheck. And they don't have the basic necessities that they need to survive. And so they're left making impossible decisions. And that's where side hustles come in.
All right now, hold still now. You're gonna make me fuck up.
The math on side hustles is pretty simple. If you aren't paid enough, you better find a way to get enough. So many incarcerated people—
That's why you gotta learn how to cut hair or learn how to do tattoos.
Get creative.
Saturday vibes. Pick your selection and get you an ice cold one.
Everyone inside finds a hustle.
I had more side hustles than I can probably count on my hands together. Everything is currency. When I work in a law library, you're not supposed to give legal advice, but if I learn something and you don't know how to do it, I would charge you to do it.
We had women who would do hair for extra money. You would have some women that would do different braiding styles in people's hair, or take newspapers and shampoo and make rollers and curl people's hair for court.
That's how you wash clothes right there. That's how you get clean. My guy right here.
The ramifications of the side hustles, if people get caught, can be huge. If you have somebody on the outside smuggling you in drugs or contraband cell phones and you're selling those on the yard, that is a felony. You can end up with years tacked onto your sentence. There's lots of people who say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. I think it's much more productive to talk about, well, what are the implications of that policy? When you don't pay people what their labor is worth when they're incarcerated, you set them up. When they get released, to be in a really difficult position.
When I was released after 21 and a half years, I had a total of $130-something. I believe that if I would have had more money upon my release saved up, a lot of my transition would have been easier because I wouldn't have had so much concern about clothing and shoes and food and a place to stay, paying rent, that weight on your back, you know, and that those things can lead you down the rabbit hole and back to prison.
Especially ironic because the first reason why they're in prison to begin with is because they didn't have money. That's it. Like, the notion that people do crimes because they're bad people is a lie. It's just a lie. People do crimes because they're poor. Okay? The overwhelming majority of people are engaging in criminal activity because they're poor. That's it. Especially because, like, a lot of the crimes committed, like wage theft, or a lot of the crimes committed at the higher levels of society are not considered crimes. We have different names for them. You know what I mean? And oftentimes you can get around it. Oftentimes you could just pay your way out of it. Oftentimes you can hire the best lawyers, even if you get a sense, if you're met with a sense of accountability.
If our goal is to prevent crime, then the research very clearly shows that people need to get out of prison with a little bit of a cushion. If you're sending somebody out into the world and saying, take whatever job you can get, it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter how they treat you, it doesn't matter what they pay you, just end.
Look. Radfems are my favorite breed of psychopathic leftists and liberals in general. Because, like, automatically, they're like, they rape because they're poor too. No, they rape because they hate women. Is that what you want to hear from me? Yeah, that's why they're raping. Specifically and exclusively because they're bad and they hate women. Like, yeah, everyone in prison is in prison because of rape. Did you guys know that? Famously. I never said every single fucking crime is committed as a consequence of your, your poverty. But yeah, I would go so far as to say that even sexual crimes and everything else, your material conditions absolutely factor into it. This is a racist liberal take to say that black men are violently anti-women. Yeah, no, this is like the white women version of, like, you know, Emmett Till. It's the same justification. I said the majority of crimes that people get locked up for is, specifically, the majority of crimes that people get locked up for is directly linked back to their socioeconomic conditions, poverty. Every single thing, of course, is still related to your material conditions. Lack of adequate mental health care, lack of adequate mental treatment, lack of adequate treatment in general, lack of a severe lack of role models in your life, and a feeling of senselessness, hopelessness. All of those are products of your material conditions. You can't avoid them no matter what happens, like the top of the hour ad break. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with Twitch Prime. By connect to your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Also, I'm a clinical psychologist going to work in a max security prison. These people have been failed by society, not the other way around. Of course. Yeah. In that Steven Seagal show, some dude got 10 years just for walking a certain way in front of a cop. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Yeah, I despise people that act like they are empathetic people that act like they're empathetic people that literally fucking have all other like feelings of empathy shut off immediately. Feelings of empathy shut off immediately when they think of like prisoners, and they never examine why that is. Stop making excuses for criminals. Man, shut the fuck up, dumb bitch. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Don't make jokes like that right now, especially when there are legitimately people who feel that way.
Mid-February, and Hasan year of public relations is going decently.
Oh, fuck. I was like, what the fuck? I thought this was the video, and I'm like, what? Why is the Vice video saying Hasan?
Anything, because that's what you've been doing. I'm not sure that's a lesson we want to teach people if we want them to go out in the world and be contributing members to society.
I mean, whatever actions or whatever crime that was committed on behalf of any of us that are locked inside of this environment, we already paying the price for that. We're paying the price for being here.
Solitary confinement is common in U.S. prisons, a form of punishment some consider cruel, but that's finally changing. Since 2018, laws and executive orders to limit the practice have come down in more than a dozen.
You mean humans? Like, it's torture. Solitary confinement is literally torture. America not only has legalized slavery in the Constitution on the 13th Amendment as a method of punishment, they also think torture is a method of punishment that's adequate.
Dozen states. Even President Biden promised to severely restrict solitary confinement.
That's why I proposed a comprehensive criminal package in this campaign.
Although he hasn't followed through yet.
Yeah.
Police are using baby DNA to investigate their parents for crimes. A lawsuit filed in New Jersey shows that law enforcement tapped into blood sample databases that the state builds from routine newborn health screenings.
The law does not require the state get consent before storing or selling remaining blood spots.
The samples then become state property, and police can access them without parental consent. After the high-profile police killings of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, police departments were largely able to avoid calls for reform, but there have been consequences. Louisville's insurance company dropped the city when it had to pay Breonna Taylor's family $12 million in a wrongful death settlement. And in other cities where police have paid out big settlements, insurance companies are raising their rates by 200 to 400%.
Lunel is one of the funniest people alive. She's been in dozens of movies and TV shows. She's done stand-up for decades and has her own Vegas residency. She's also spent time in jail. The first time I saw you was, I think you were on Comic View, and it's on this little tiny black and white TV in a prison. And if you don't know, the boys in the pen love them some Lunel.
Yes, I'm very popular on the yard, I'm aware.
You know, I've been away for a long time. I've been away for 27 years. I've been away from my kids. And, you know.
You must have a lot of pent-up anxieties. 27 years. How long you been out?
I've been out for 4 years.
You ain't got it all out you yet. Anyway.
But I understand that you have some experience with incarceration yourself.
So they call it embezzlement. I like to say bank robbery because that's got more street cred. I was in the vault with this other chick because you don't supposed to be in the vault by yourself. And I don't know what happened, but she turned her back and I grabbed a stack and I put it in these titties right here. And nobody could even tell. They didn't approach me.
Yo, that's awesome. Okay, first of all, that is bank robbery. And secondly, incredibly cool and also a victimless crime.
Me about it for quite a while. And then when they did, I just copped to the shit. I said, yeah, I did it. I took it. So what? So, of course, they arrested me.
Yeah, I bet they did.
And they said the next time you come to court, we're going to sentence you. And that's when I ran. And I moved back to Oakland. And I was kind of on the low. And I was starting to do comedy there again. And my name was in the paper every week. I thought it was just a matter of time. But I didn't get busted because they saw my name in the paper. I got pregnant. And when I had my baby, I signed up for WIC and all that stuff. And the Social Security numbers crossed up. And they came from Long Beach, California to the Bay Area and got my ass. Had it not been a felony, the amount of money I took, I would have got away with it because of statute of limitations.
Like a lot of people who did time, they
Not completely victimless, but the victims end up fine. No, it is victimless. Bank robberies are victimless crimes. The actual bank robberies that legitimately have victims are not considered bank robberies, okay? You know, repealing the Glass-Steagall Act kind of made that thing very much legal now. That's real bank robberies. When you have fucking investment banks and you know, retail, commercial banks partner up and do whatever the fuck they want with your goddamn money. That's a real fucking victim. That's a crime with 1 million victims. So, but of course, when you do that, because you're rich, you get a golden parachute from the government that the taxpayers paid for. That's what happened in the aftermath of 2008. What take is this? Brother, it's not even a take. It's just I'm describing reality to you. But because you are so conditioned into not seeing it that way, you have this literal like immediate feedback where you're like, what? Wait, what? Like, I'm describing to you. Okay, by the way, Outlaw, really funny name for a guy who's like, I'm saying Outlaw 366, brother. And then he's like, wait a minute, you think stealing from banks is actually appropriate? What? I'm so surprised. Anyway, the point I'm making is pretty much everything is illicit and illegal for poor people. And then even if it's illegal for rich people, they just write laws to make it not illegal. People have died during a bank robbery. Yeah, I know, man. What the fuck? People die during multiple different things, but that's a whole separate crime. Like, okay. It's like being like, well, what if the fucking bank robber rapes the teller? Like, okay, that's a crime. That's like not a victimless crime anymore, okay? You know, that's a whole separate crime that you're just describing. Violence from the oppressed is different from the oppressor? Yeah. Well, it's also not even considered violence when it's the oppressed doing. I mean, it's the oppressor doing it. It's only considered violence and something to pay attention to when it is the oppressed doing it. Poor people commit crimes, rich people make mistakes. Yep.
They don't share it with a lot of folks.
Yeah, she didn't even fucking hold up the bank. She like literally just grabbed a pile of cash and put it in her titties. You know what I mean? Respect.
Folks, you're a celebrity, but you're open about it.
What the fuck have I got to be embarrassed about? I made it out. I made it through. I'm successful. This is a testimony that people can go through what I've been through, and you can decide once you get out what the fuck it is you want to do now. You want to keep going on this roller coaster to nowhere, or do you want to take this experience and use the game you got and put it towards something else?
So do you ever draw on any of your experience while you was incarcerated in order to write comedy?
Yes. Well, before I even went home to my child, I went to the Comedy Store because I just had to talk. I got a standing ovation that night. I talked about the strip searches and the degradation of that and the slave-ish feeling that you get from that. And the mindset of the people who do that as a job. Like, your job is to make mostly black and brown men bend over and cough and hold their dicks up and all this shit that you have to check for drugs, but at the same time it's the most degrading thing. And then from the mindset of the person doing it, like, do you know if they're just trying to be professional or if they're enjoying it too much? Or, you don't know what's going on in their head. And then the mystery meat with, what is this, pimento and olive loaf? What the, yeah, there was a lot of comedy that I drew from being in jail.
Well, but outside of incarceration, like, you've been in the game for a while. Not saying you're old, but you just been in the game for a while.
Let me tell you something. You could call me old if you want to. I'm still as fly as fuck.
That's right.
And I don't know where getting old got such a bad reputation. You motherfuckers better start talking about dying young. That's your all's problem. I want to get older than this. How about that? I want to be the Marla Gibbs of this shit. I want to be Betty White.
That's right. But with the length of time you have in the game, it seems like now you're hitting your stride.
Well, in the words of the great prophet Lizzo, it's about damn time. But I also think that I have to give it to the universe because, of course, I would have wanted this popularity 20 years ago. Would I be as stable as I am right now? I don't think so, because I know so much more now. I've seen so many fails now that I know what not to do, and I've developed a really good team around me that I trust.
Do the stories you tell have any social issues you try to solve with your stories or remedy?
Yes, I call out racism all the time in a funny but thoughtful way. Like, I don't care if you're uncomfortable. It's only gonna hurt for a minute. I'm not here to browbeat people, but I am here to let you know you're looking at a woke comic. And I'm not just here for the yucks. I'm trying to get some messages out in between that too. And then if you don't like it, I understand. If you get the fuck up and leave, it's okay too. I don't have that happen though.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on my show. Thank you for being you. Managed to go on to do in the game. We need you.
You're welcome.
Leaving prison can be tough, but lots of formerly incarcerated folks manage to go on to do some pretty great things. This is In the Spotlight.
I come from a great, hardworking immigrant family from Mexico. I have 2 brothers, 1 sister. Red pepper flakes, Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, and pork belly. Me, the only sibling that grew up getting into trouble, like the black sheep, you would say. My name's Fernando Reese. I'm an executive chef. I've been incarcerated 4.5 years of my life. So we got pan-seared halibut, red chili oil, Yukon Gold potatoes, and I have a red chili balsamic reduction here. How I ended up getting into trafficking guns and drugs. The people you hang out with. You're a product of what the people you hang out with. You're guilty by association no matter what. And I got arrested with 2 stolen guns, about a 1/4 kilo of cocaine, and a 1/2 pound of methamphetamines at 15. And that was the very first time I got in trouble with law enforcement. What led me to get the kitchen jobs while being incarcerated were my cellmates that were working in the kitchens saying how good they eat. They get to drink sodas and Cokes and all that's getting donated. That's the hardest job to try to get into. I happened to sneak in there. Everything that we served in those county jails was either expired foods from food banks and grocery stores or just...
The reason why I got caught with all of that at the age of 15 is because everyone else around him was over the age of 18. So they gave him all this shit so that it's a common technique. is like make the kid the fall guy, even though it basically is a permanent stain on your record. You don't get hit with like the same amount of punishments that you would if you're a grown adult.
Donated food. We had to make something out of nothing.
That doesn't mean he was doing all that shit.
I just took a liking for cooking when I was cooking in jails. Huge kitchens, huge commercial equipment, stuff that I wasn't used to seeing. And I just kind of fell in love with it. You eat with your eyes first is what I like to tell people, you know what I mean? The most surprising thing I found upon release was the detention officer, the one that hands you your property, your clothes, your street clothes before you get out. He's the last one you see, the last one you talk to. And basically, it always stuck with me. They would say, see you soon, or see you when you get back, or see you in a couple of months. After that, I went straight to culinary school. This sauce here, I'm just gonna kind of let it splatter. There's no rules on plating anymore. Food is powerful. Food changes lives. Food brings people together. Food changed my life. The kitchen industry, the hospitality industry is welcoming with people with checkered backgrounds. And we are in New Mexico, so
yeah, because you got to be a psychopath. They're like, what kind of crimes did you commit? Were they like psychopathic? You're gonna make it. In order to be a chef, you have to be like a freak. So that makes sense.
We always use a little spice. Well, I'm hiring ex-convicts. I want my servers and my kitchen guys to have a story, because I'm not the only one. I never wanted to be on national TV. Food Network, Guys Grocery Games, Chopped, Beat Bobby Flay. My biggest fear of being on national TV was the people I grew up with seeing me on TV that's like, hey, that's the guy that robbed us for 50 kilos of cocaine. The dish I used to beat Bobby Flay is a classical, old school Mexican dish. It's called chiles en nogada. It's a stuffed poblano pepper with a walnut cream sauce, pomegranate seeds. It represents the Mexican flag, so it's a red, white, and green dish. It's been around forever. That's the dish I beat him with. Bobby never loses on Beat Bobby Flay. You know what I mean? Like, there's very few chefs that beat him. Yeah, it changed my life after that. Growing up, I never would have thought I'd be an executive chef. I never thought I'd be on national TV.
Bro, I will never respond. What do you think about the 23-year-old woman that looks like an 8-year-old? There seems to be a lot of controversy about her dating and shit. I don't care. I don't have an opinion on this. I don't give a fuck. It's such a rare, like, insane thing that, like, if you're spending time on this and, like, legitimately, like, trying to do discourse around this, you're just a weird person. You are a weirdo. I don't care.
If it was, it would have been for something bad, not for something positive. For people listening in on the other side,
I think it's like I think it's a reality TV thing. That's why I've seen it. Like I've seen it in Discord circles. You know what I mean? It's definitely not Discord. Sorry, in discourse circles.
We're all human. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if we get punched in the mouth, we all bleed the same color. Don't judge the book by its cover. There's a lot of really good people in jails and prisons. Give them a chance, just the way I was given a chance, and look what I'm doing.
Today, I'm going to show you how we used to make cheesecakes while I was inside. Kenyatta Mama cheesecakes. The secrets of which must be jealously guarded. So, in order to make a cheesecake inside, you're gonna have two components. One is gonna be the ingredients for the cheesecakes. The other is the mechanics for the little makeshift oven. I started making cheesecakes in prison because I needed a hustle. I needed some way to like support myself. First, we're gonna fill the tub halfway with water. Place the immersion heater in the water and line it with the plastic bag. Cover the tub with a towel and we plug in the immersion heater so that the water will come to a boil and the oven can preheat. There's important details, man. You have to use the clear trash bags. Because if you use the other one, if you use the kind that got any sense in it, you're gonna be messed up. If you use the ones that are durable and strong, then when they get hot, they stretch. The crust is pretty straightforward. You'll either use oatmeal cookies or graham crackers from commissary, crush them up with a bit of butter so that they can stick together. Now we make the batter. Combine cream cheese, condensed milk, eggnog, sugar, vanilla extract, and lemon juice to make the batter. Pour into the crust and place the shell on the bottom of the oven. Replace the towel and bake for 4 hours. And that's how you make cheesecake.
When I was in prison, I worked a lot of jobs. I sold uniforms, made soap, mopped floors, a little of this, a little of that. In return, I was paid next to nothing, from 45 cents an hour down to as little as 13 cents. But what hurt more than the pay was that I learned next to nothing from those jobs. I didn't gain any skills that would be transferable to the free world, nothing that would help me be a better man or less likely to return. That's the real reason why the side hustle economy is so important to incarcerated people. Sure, you can make more money selling patties or doing laundry under the table, but while it is against the rules in a lot of places and may be allowed in some, it does highlight an entrepreneurial spirit that many may need to survive and thrive on the outside. Thanks for watching.
This was a good video overall. I mean, I wish they focused more on the obvious you know, slave labor, Angola, you know, maybe even like talked a little bit more about how, oh, I missed the other vids. Oh, this is I guess it's a series, right? So that makes sense. That's probably the reason why. Makes sense. It's a really good, I like this. They did Angola before this one. I kind of want to watch, like,
this is
kids are ending up in the Alcatraz of the South. I kind of want to watch the